Good evening, you fantastic people of YouTube. Thank you so much. We are back. We've had a couple of weeks off, but we've made some not decent amendments. We have made some decent amendments. Everything's going well. It looks absolutely great. I think you can all agree with me there, but I think without further ado, we are on episode 17 of the Killer Comic Show. It's Thursday night. Sit back, chill out, relax, because I've got a fantastic guest of mine, fellow YouTuber, Instagrammer, comic extraordinaire, the one, the only, Andy from Perpetual Comics. How are you doing, sir?
What's up, my man? I am doing absolutely fantastic. I'm absolutely buzzing for this conversation, this chat. I cannot wait.
I think it's. I think people kind of know what's happened this week. It's been 2 years in the making. Yesterday, one of the all-time, probably most anticipated comics of the last year or coming up a couple of years was released. We will get onto that. That's probably going to be the main focus of the show. But I kind of just want to give you a few minutes to just talk to everyone in the chat. Let them know if they haven't checked out your channel on YouTube or Instagram yet, kind of what you're about, mate, if I'm honest.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that'd be cool. So yeah, I'm Andy, and I've started up a channel called Perpetual Comics. So I'm only two months into this whole YouTube thing. Not entirely sure what I'm doing, but I'm enjoying it anyway. You can find me at Perpetual Comics on YouTube, perpetual.comics on Instagram. I'm active on Instagram more than I would be YouTube, but at the minute I'm just doing things like unboxings, new comic book day, and I've just sent off some CGC books, so I'm just showing the process for us UK guys as to how you register for CGC and send off your books. So really appreciate if you go and check those out and hit that subscribe or whatever it is that you're meant to do whenever you go to YouTube.
So yes, I mean that is, I think, what we're all about. We read our comics, we love our comics, we're geeks, and I think we spoke a minute ago. If we wasn't all in lockdown talking over YouTube and stuff, we'd probably be in a pub talking comics. So it's kind of been good for lockdown, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think I would have started my channel if it wasn't for the lockdown. You know, you've got a wee bit of extra time on your hands. And my YouTube channel was effectively me videoing what I would do anyway. Just sticking a camera on and recording it and sticking it up on YouTube. So yeah,
that's what it is. I mean, thank you for everyone in the chat that's joined. We've got this movie in comics. We've got Captain Comics from overseas. We've got Perpetual Comics. You're in the chat as well. Multitasking. We've got Optimus UK, a fellow friend of mine from Instagram. We've got Comics Gaming Figures. We've got everyone aggressively relaxing. I think everyone is here for probably the last hour and a half of what we've got going on. We are going to build up to it slowly. We've got some special things planned and stuff, but I think without further ado, should we just jump into the first comic of the evening?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Right, there we go. Right, yeah, look, we're going to get on some technical hitches now, aren't we? Look, there we go. So here we go. Right, Batman 104. Now, for me, I've been following this since Batman #1, and then obviously Tom King had it. All went over, Tom Taylor, everyone, Tom, so many Toms took over this comic, but now we are on the James Tynion the Fourth. I really loved it, and for me, I think the build-up to the Joker War was much better than the actual event of the Joker War. So the Joker Wars happened, that happened from 95 to 100. We're now on the overtime of what's happened since that. I mean, what's your feedback been from this comic so far?
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. I think Tynion's run is absolutely where it's at. I don't think there's been a bad issue. I think you're absolutely right. I think it was the Joker War was sort of built up, and I can just imagine it like a balloon sort of inflating slowly, and you just expect it to explode, but it kind of deflated quite slowly. And then it's starting back up again with this the last few issues. So it's going to be really interesting to see where it goes with it.
This is what I like to see, people jumping in the chat, subbing up to fellow YouTubers and stuff like that. So well done. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
That's what we're here for. We're trying to build a community, and I think we're going the right way about it. But yeah, I mean, like for me, I'm a massive fan of Batman, and I think this recent arc is obviously all about it's the Ghost Hunter. Is it the Ghost Hunter? It is the Ghost Hunter, is it? Yeah, it is the Ghost Hunter.
The Ghost Hunter,
it's all about like the Ghost Hunter and his arc and how his backstory ties into Bruce Wayne's when he was young, traveling the world, everything like that. But it's kind of like more of a history lesson of Batman's previous identity than it is more so about Batman now. Do you agree what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's creeping into that backstory. I think this particular issue 104 had a lot of backstory in it. It gave you a little bit of an understanding as to how the two of them met, and what the thinking is, and why does Batman hate him and love him at the same time. It's almost like a love story between those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and I think obviously in 103 we kind of see the Ghost Hunter. He's taken Harley Quinn hostage. He's got Clown Hunter, and I think this is the first time that he's actually beaten up Batman and actually won, because when they were younger they used to fight and Batman would always get the upper hand, and it was always the Ghost Hunter trying to get the advantage on him, and he never succeeded. But for me, it was Batman was kind of on the back foot, and it's kind of like in comics it's kind of portrayed that the white is the shining night and the black is obviously the dark. Now in this, obviously Batman's portrayed as the knight in shining armor for Gotham, whereas the more and more I read this comic, it's kind of like I can kind of see where the Ghost Hunter's coming from.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, I totally agree. Again, I think I can't remember what page it was, but they start talking about art versus vengeance. So for the Ghost Hunter, whenever they were together, he was learning about the art of martial arts and being able to defend the city. And in his eyes, Batman's just all about the vengeance.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how it pans out, but I think jumping straight into it, you can definitely see. Now, for me, I noticed that there's 3 different artists on this issue. You've got Gillian March, you've got Ben Gall, and you've got Ryan Benjamin. Now, for me, I liked it when Gillian March was working with James Tynion, just them solely, because his artwork I felt fit the writing style of James Tynion. Whereas if you look at this panel here, it's very childlike.
Yeah, I did notice that as well. I think this type of story, it's hard enough trying for a writer to convey to one artist what they're trying to get across. I can only imagine what it was like trying to get across to 3 different artists, and for then that to be a cohesive book. But that was the first thing I noticed when I read the first few pages, was how childlike it looked, how simple it looked for such an unsimple story, if that makes sense.
And considering this is like DC's flagship comic, you'd think they'd literally get the stability and everything right. Do you know what I mean? Why are you like fannying around with like 3 or 4 different writers and colorists and artists and stuff like that? You kind of just want to stick to what you know, because it was doing so well. Yeah.
It's not the sort of book that you want to, give an artist have a go at that and see how things go. You want consistency, because you want a consistently good story. So you expect really consistently good art as well. Not that I'm saying this is bad. It's just it wouldn't be something that I would expect for a Batman comic.
I mean, because it's very much like a childlike comic. The way that the colours are really bright and in your face, like the artwork, the line drawings and stuff like that. And I just thought, if I'm being honest, I personally think James Tynion is kind of losing interest of the reader. For me, I absolutely loved the build up from 95 to 100 in the build up of the Joker War, because you didn't really know what was going to happen, and obviously it ended with, I think they could have ended it a much better way, instead of just leaving the Joker and making Batman decide whether it's going to be Harley Quinn or the Joker he chooses, because we know he's always going to choose the Joker. And I think if the fact is that when that bomb went off, if there was one of the Bat family there when it went off, that kind of opens up the story and it leads you down a whole different chapter than starting the whole thing again. And we know the Joker's alive, and we know that he's manipulating Punchline. And do you know what I mean? It's kind of, we've been there, done that.
It's a typical Batman cash cow, isn't it? It's like you're expecting something, they sort of tease you with it, dangle the carrot in front of you, and then they pull it back again, just so that that's the reason why we're still reading up to issue 104 and haven't dropped it.
But I mean, see, Luke said this, I'm not a fan when they split artists within the same book, and Mortal Hulk issue 3 done that too, and it's very jarring. It is 100%. Because the reader kind of gets used to what they like, and then all of a sudden it's flipped on its head and you've got 3 or 4 different artists writing, and you kind of like, I found it quite annoying, if I'm honest. I was quite gutted, because I was really looking forward to this. I think the Clown Hunter, I think the Ghost Hunter, I think they're all going to be good characters.
Oh yeah, without doubt, yeah.
But I just think it's got to be, one, it's got to be given time, but 2, I think James Tynion kind of needs to rein it back in and kind of focus on what character he's going with. Is it going to be the Clown Hunter? Is it going to be the Ghost?
It has to be, for me, quality over quantity. You know, you can throw as many new characters and different characters at us as you want, but you know, you just want to. I think Clown Hunter has a lot of legs at the minute. I think Batman Annual 5, I think it is, that's due to come out. That's going to have the backstory to it. So for anybody who doesn't have that in their pull list, definitely get that on it, because I think it's a really good spec book. Yeah, it's going to be a really good spec book as well.
Because the thing is with this, right, I am enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying it as much. I kind of switched off after about 102. I think 103 is kind of when it started to drain on a bit, and you kind of think, all right, Harley Quinn fighting the Clown Hunter, this is like a brother and sister type of thing they've got going on. And then you've got Batman fighting with himself because he doesn't know whether he wants to hand the Clown Hunter arena, or he wants to kill him, or he wants to do this, or he wants to fight the knight in shining armor. It's all kind of all over the place, and I think I found myself just reading the comic, not even surveying like what's going on within the panels and stuff. I kind of found myself just reading it to get it over and done with, whereas in previous issues I was taking the time to think about the actual story plot and what's going on and the character involvement.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when you've got one artist and you've had it for maybe 5 or 6 issues, you almost get used to the art, so you can consume the story a lot easier. I think with this, you had to stop and actually concentrate a little bit, and then that really opens up the chance that you're just going to switch off. And I think if I'm right, it sounds a wee bit like you've maybe switched off, Charlie, on this one a wee bit.
Begrudgingly I have, because as I said, I love Batman, I love the whole arc, I love the whole build up to it as well, but it's just, for me, it's just, I personally can't stand it when, if there's a team that's working so well, like Tynion and March were working so well, why switch it up? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why fix it if it's not broken? And I think, like Comic Deals just said it, I think if it's done for a specific reason, like a dreamscape sequence or something outworldly, which I think was done a few times in Immortal Hulk, a different artist can have flair. I totally agree with that.
100%, yeah.
I totally understand that, but it's kind of like, it's not even they're doing it just for the flashbacks. They're doing it for the whole story arc of what it seems. I mean, I think it's like issue number 3 of this story arc. So it's kind of like, how long is this going to go on for? So I was pretty gutted about it. I thought there was going to be more developments in the story instead of it just floating around Batman and his mate. They've had a tear up when they were kids, and now they want to kind of, it's who's going to rule over Gotham. We know that Batman hasn't been himself since the death of Alfred. So it's kind of like Tynion's playing on that.
But we'll still buy issue 105 just to see what happens in 106.
Of course we will. I've still got it on my playlist.
That's what we do.
It's on my. So I've got a Batman playlist as well. But yeah, it's still going to be there, and obviously, like you are going to get issues that you kind of like, I can't be bothered to. But that's the love of comics, I guess. Is kind of, you stick with it to find out if it's going to be worth reading or more. Which is why, unfortunately, I gave this a 6 out of 10.
Controversial.
It was, and do you know what? I think the main thing I gave it a 6 out of 10 for was one of these scenes. Right, I can't remember where it was. I think it was. Oh, where is it? It was honestly this here, right? This was one of my main things. This looks like it's come out of a Saturday Kids Cartoon Network comic for me. And I was like, this isn't what Batman's about. This isn't. This for the hardcore Batman fans out there, me being included, I personally don't want to see this.
To be honest with you, when I seen this panel, there was a box that I'd bought my younger daughter to open, and there was some kids' comics in it, and the artwork in those comics was actually better than a few of the panels that were in this. So it gives you an idea of what we were up against on this issue, and I think it's just a case of, is the next issue going to be the same? Let's hope not. Let's hope they just go straight, just do what they do best.
I think the grittiness of the previous issues worked really well, and it tied in with the storyline. Now it kind of, come on, this is a kid's comic at the end of the day. There's a few panels in it that are just like, right, okay, I'm going to read this while I'm watching the Care Bears.
It doesn't relate. It doesn't relate to the story. That's the thing.
Really
it's like you're reading some of the things. You know, you get to the last panel and stuff like that, and the story, and it's quite a deep story. You know, and then you get to something like this, which is kind of completely different, and then you have to start concentrating again on some new art.
I mean, the contrast between that and that is so noticeable.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I can't believe they've kind of thought that's okay to do, because when I read a comic book as a reviewer, I'm kind of looking at everything. Now, if I'm a comic book fan and I don't know who the artist is, I'm looking at, oh yeah, this is fine. But for me, I'm looking in depth at it, and I'm like, you flipped it. You can definitely see that there's different artists in this.
Yeah, I think as well as the art, there was a couple of parts in the story which I thought were really, really weak. So you jump past one there whenever they were trying to work out where they'd taken Batman and the rest of the guys, and it just so happens that it's written on the wall in the plants, and I thought, what? That's just been like shoehorned in there.
I mean, even at the start of the comic where he was like, where are we? I think every single reader knew where they were.
Yeah.
And I think Comic Deal has just said, he's already got a takeaway from this. My takeaway from this, I am right not to want to ever read Batman. Mate, if you're just jumping in on this comic, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I really do agree with you. But if you've been following it, you can see where our positives lie, but you can see where our negatives lie from this issue.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Tinian has a comic geek.
Tinian has a real knack of, I think it's been at least 3 occasions where Batman's been either sedated or he's been knocked out, and then all of a sudden he's the one that wakes up quickest. This was kind of
This was a great piece of artwork.
Yeah.
But I mean, why couldn't you do the whole comic like this? This was my frustrating thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's why I gave it a 6 out of 10. What would you give it?
I'd say about 7. Yeah, 7. I thought I'd give it a 7 based on. That's the thing. I wanted to give it a lot more. I love this run, but it's peaks and troughs with it at the minute. It's not consistent enough for me. So I give it 7 out of 10 based on the artwork jumping back and forward, and also there was a few weak points for Tinian's writing, and I'm a huge fan. That I just thought, that's just weak. There is a few mixed reactions in the chat. Some people are saying they're digging the Detective Comics and Batman at the moment. Some are saying they're never going to read Batman again. Let me know what you're thinking about it. Obviously, you've heard mine and Andy's thoughts on it. I'm more negative than Andy is, but that's because I'm looking at it. I've read this comic twice. I read it just as a comic reader, and I read it as a reviewer. And when I was reading it as the reviewer, I was picking up thinking, this is slacking it. For me, it was like Tinian had kind of switched off. And he's kind of trying to do something new, where I think he should just go back to focusing on what he did. I think what didn't help as well, though, is the other books that we actually read. So I naturally gave them a bit of a scale, and it's hard when you're comparing it against them. Yeah. So I think the 4 books that obviously we're going to look at, they had their high and low points, and there's one that had a huge amount of high points. So
now, talking about the next one, I think we should go into. Right, let me just see. I think we're going to go into. Let's go into following on from Batman. We might as well just jump straight into Batman and Catwoman #1. Now, for me, this was a love story. I quite enjoyed it.
I'm completely the opposite. So I'm going to be Mr. Negative on this one.
See, this is great. This is it. This is like we've planned it. Good cop, bad cop.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Well, do you know what? I'm going to kick off with this one.
Go for it.
I had kind of a low expectations in the first place going into this one. I loved the artwork. Clayman's artwork was fabulous. Just as a bit of a segue from the previous conversations we're having on that. I think unless you've read Batman Annual 2, then this is going to be quite a difficult one to understand. Yeah. But the biggest pain point for me was the amount of jumping back and forward and back and forward.
100%. I've got that on my notes as well. So obviously this is for those of you that don't know, this is a continuation of Tom King's Batman run. So this follows on from it, and it's kind of like there's some parts that are flash forward, there's some parts that are in the present, and for me, I literally wrote down the timeline jumps around a bit and you start to lose interest by around page 7.
Absolutely. I had to read it 3 times, but not because I wanted to, but because I knew I was coming on this show and I had to try and discuss it and know something about it. And it's no because I wanted to. It was
Tom's going on mute already. Sorry, Tom.
Was it something I said, Tom? Thanks very much. My dulcet tones.
But I mean, as you mentioned, like, I really, really like the artwork of Clayman, and I think it's perfectly drawn, and it works really well with the writing style of Tom King. It's just the fact that it's just flipping around. It's flipping around more than washing in a washing machine. Do you know what I mean? It's like, honestly, it's constantly going. You don't know where you're looking. You don't know what page to turn. But one thing I did like about this, now obviously I'm a fan of Tom King, and you kind of know that he likes to do his songs, he likes to do his poems. That's kind of his intricate writing style. And the fact that it started with this, with like the older Selena Kyle singing like Holy Night, a silent night, as she's like cruising along. Let's call that Gotham Bridge. We call that Gotham Bridge. Let's call that Gotham Bridge.
Let's do it.
and then she's cruising along. And then this was pretty impressive. I was pretty like, wow, okay. So obviously that is Andrea Beaumont, who is Phantasm.
Spoiler.
Now, spoiler, yeah. Honestly, this show's full of spoilers, which is why Hydra Collectibles doesn't come on, but that's fine. There's all nothing but love in this, nothing but love on this show and community. So, but yeah, that's a spoiler. So that is obviously Andrea Beaumont, and it is a spoiler that I've just given away, but you do get to find out later on in the comic pages. But I was like, this was pretty decent. I wasn't expecting this, to be fair. Not on the first page.
I thought that it was the artwork that caught me. I thought it was strange, the way it started. It was like the sort of juxtaposition between the bright and her driving in the car to the really dark. You're obviously Batman's there and Andrea's there. I thought it was really interesting, though, that it was kind of like 3 sort of timelines almost. So once I'd read it that 3rd time, I could understand it was like the present, which is obviously Batman and Catwoman teaming up to help Andrea find her son. And then the second one was sort of the early stages of Batman and Catwoman's romance. So that's where you were talking about the sort of romance side of things. And then the sort of
Widow Batman.
Selena. Widowed Selena. And that's obviously when I went, oh yeah, Batman Annual 2, that makes sense now. And then it all started to make a little bit more sense.
Do you know what I quite liked is that obviously for the first panel here, she's like singing, and then it just literally stops abruptly when Andrea Beaumont jumps on, and you're kind of like, right, is this telling to something that's going to happen in future issues, or is it just because they wanted to make the impact that Phantasm's back? And it's like, but she's not back though, is she? She kind of gave that mantle up years ago. She's turned over a new leaf. She's kind of gone all sexy Poison Ivy-esque on us. And then, I mean, look, he looks like something out of a milk tray advert, doesn't he?
He does. He really does.
Just sitting there with his cup of coffee, and he's just like, what's happening?
He's like, how you doing?
How you doing? It is Joey Tribbiani, isn't it?
It really is. I was just really jealous of how good his hair looked, or any hair, to be fair. He just looks fabulous.
It does look quite good. I reckon he's had a blow dry on that.
I'm glad you said blow dry there. But...
Well, Luke's just said this week I've actually read all the books I wanted to, so spoil away. I'm actually over the moon with this because I talk to Luke all the time, and he's like, it's not like I don't like your show, it's that you spoil it for me. So I was speaking to him and I said, right, look, we're going to be doing a couple of spoilers. And he was like, it's fine. It's okay.
Nice.
So,
cool.
Because I kind of touched base with people regarding The King in Black, and I was like, look, there's going to be some spoilers on my show. So if you haven't read it, 1, why haven't you? And 2, you better read it before 9 o'clock if you're jumping on my show. So
I will ruin it for you.
but so we said it's gone from blow dry, but on the next panel, it kind of looks like it's going from blow dry to... Where was the run? Oh, where did it go? I had a line lined up then, but it didn't seem to work out. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. It was going to go from blow dry to blow job, but it didn't. I can't remember where that panel's gone. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, blow dry. Yeah, it's up top. Here it is. Yeah, and Alpha's like, oh yeah, what's going on here? So, but what I couldn't work out with this is that So this is obviously in the present,
Hmm.
and it's the timeline continuation from Tom King's Batman. But then, how is that? That's not Alfred, is it? It is.
It is, yeah, yeah. That's it. It's jumped though. That's another time when it's actually jumped to another timeline, and that's what was
This
confusing me.
100%. Because I was kind of like, how is this? You're in the same panel and it's jumped without you even knowing.
Yeah, because
It's
she says, like, I'm guessing that's
yeah,
Alfred's influence, and then boom, he's suddenly getting handed a sandwich by Alfred,
hmm
which is crazy. It just didn't make sense.
no,
That's what lost it for me. I almost stopped at that point and went, do you know what? I can't do this. But I gave it another go, and
yeah.
eventually you get there.
Because that's the thing that really threw me. He's sitting there, he's in exactly the same clothes. And I'm like, well, hold on, you've gone back. I was just thrown. So I was like, right, forget that. Let's just carry on reading. And then obviously, as you mentioned, appears to be set in the same timeline as Tom King's Batman, but then this is kind of set in Annual 2, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
Where Bruce and Selina, they grow old and Bruce dies of cancer. And then obviously Selina's widowed, and then they've obviously got their family and their daughter Helena. It is Helena, isn't it? It is Helena.
it is. Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, this guy here, he was freaky from the start. I was kind of like, right,
Ah,
what's going on with this?
and it took me a while to understand who it was, and obviously you find out at some of the end panels, but that last panel on that page I thought was absolutely striking.
Yeah,
That's a variant cover waiting to happen if I've ever seen one.
yeah. And I mean, this again ties back to the relationship that Catwoman had with the Joker
Hmm.
before she kind of got him back. I think everyone knows that Selina and Batman have been on and off for years and years, but she was always umming and ahhing whether she was going to tag team with the Joker or she was going to follow her heart and go with the Batman.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think overall it was a love story that went backwards, and for me it went backwards and forwards far too much. I enjoyed the whole premise of it, like learning
yeah,
about Catwoman and Batman, because in Tom King's run you kind of see, I think it was a City of Bane, I think it was leaning into City of Bane. Was it Batman 90, I think it was, or 85, where City of Bane and Batman's
yeah.
away with Catwoman. They're on a beach, they're planning to get married and stuff like that. So it had the reminiscence of that with all this, like the whole setup and stuff. But then when it just jumped forward to like this, I'm like, come on, man, what the hell?
It was so. I think the best word that I could think of was fragmented. The whole
hmm
story was sort of fragmented, and you had to sort of separate them. And you're just wondering, is this because they're trying to cram so much story into a
hmm
certain amount of issues? Because it almost feels like each one of those separate stories and timelines could have been a separate issue.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the big thing is the expectations that I had of reading a Batman and Catwoman
hmm
story, and there was very
Yeah.
little Batman and Catwoman story.
Catman with Joker. Yeah, Grey Man. This. When I say Catman with the Joker, I didn't mean she was actually with him. She was kind of like on, like, like she was part of Rogue's Gallery with wanting to be with like the Joker and stuff like that, but she ended up choosing a Batman as well. So, and what's this? Hydra Collectibles. I saw your comment on this earlier. I kind of see your points. However, this is just standard storytelling. The story circle, I don't think it could have gone any other way. Maybe I'm wrong. Now, I think they're talking about. I'm going to guess the King in Black. I read King in Black. Kind of wish I hadn't. So we've got some negativity for King in Black.
Oh, you have met James though, haven't you?
I know. But I mean, I would honestly say that if you're a fan of Batwoman, I mean, they could have done this in three. It would have been interesting for them to do it in 3 issues, like the past, the present, and the future, as it were. I know it sounds like a Christmas Carol, but it would
Like
have
the
been,
joke, the three Jokers almost.
yeah, basically, it could have been done like that, but obviously not as good as the Three Jokers, but it could have been kind of good. And then, like, the last issue kind of all ties it together instead of cramming it into like 29 pages of 2 pages here, 2 pages there, go back to the first 2 pages, jump up to the last 2 pages. It's
Yeah,
kind of like,
I just don't know where it's going to go. I think that's the question I
yeah,
have, and I would really, I'll probably read issue 2,
yeah,
but it's going to be a make or break for me to be honest
yeah.
with you.
I think this was kind of good where you see Batman and Catwoman hunt down like the Sewer King. But again,
First
this seemed
appearance, yeah.
this seemed to be too rushed as well.
Mm.
Right, it's done, and then I mean, look, you can kind of see who this guy is.
Yeah. He's almost got that smile.
He's almost got it. But I mean, even these battle scenes and stuff, they seemed quite good. And then obviously,
and then it bounced into her being in the room, stealing the jewellery. I thought that last panel was classic Joker. I loved it.
I love the way he's just sitting there.
It almost it was like Brian Boland's Joker.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then we go to this, and he's left his mark, like the Cheshire Cat grinning, and then we tie up, and it goes to this, and again, obviously they find out Andrea Beaumont's kid that they've been hanging around with and stuff. But again,
it's jumped again.
It just jumps again.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like you're watching a film and it skips like 20 minutes, which is it was the confusing part about me. And this is kind of what I meant. So like way back when, the Joker and the Catwoman, they was obviously on the same team, wanting the same thing. But
that's a cool panel as well. It's a good perspective as well.
It is like the way he's like drawing and stuff like that. I think there's like some good artwork in the artwork in it's great. Like you can't fault the artwork at all, and you can't, in a certain way, you can't fault the writing. It's just the way that it's been put together. It's kind of so jumbled. I
think the only negative thing I would say about the art is it almost felt like some of the shots were kind of a how can I put this, like posed shots. That's probably a good example of one. It didn't feel as if it's like they stood in time whilst the story was continuing, as opposed to it being like a fluent artwork, if that makes sense.
But yeah, no, definitely. And I think the only thing consistent throughout this issue is it's confusing. I think that's all we can say.
Yeah. I guess we're nearly at the end panels where.
I mean, this is traditional.
Yes, it's jump again there. Yeah, it's so fragmented. It's unbelievable.
And if you're watching this show, it looks like we're jumping like 5 or 6 issues in front. But this is the comic book. This is how it's read. So if you are on here and you're as confused as us, that's what it is.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome. Exactly. Welcome. And again, it jumps.
It jumps again. Yeah.
And then we get to the end part. And again, it's now. So hold on, this was the past, wasn't it? Or is it the present?
Yes, that is the present.
That is the present. Yeah. And then
that's the early stages of obviously the relationship, I think. And then it jumps.
Classic Tom King. Confusing until towards the end of the series. That's kind of what he's kind of known for. His poems, his songs, is confusing. But when he does it right, he does it right. He's kind of either hit or miss. When he does it well, it's amazing. When it's not, it's there for everyone to see.
It's this.
It is this. It is this. It is this. And then it just ends with this. I thought this was a great.
Yeah, that's cool. That was really cool. And then boom, we jump again.
Boom, we jump again. And there she is.
Is this like the first appearance in comic continuity for?
I think it might be. If anyone in the chat knows, I think this might be, because
I was surprised there wasn't more made of that. From
I thought maybe there will be an issue 2.
Yeah.
But who knows? But then there we go. But then you see her outfit there.
Yeah. I didn't see that the first time that I got to that page. It wasn't until maybe the second or third reading, and it sort of clicked and made sense.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, I think I gave that a 7 out of 10. Well, no, I gave it a 4 out of 10, sorry. And I said, I would suggest this if you like the cat and the bat, you want to see how they pan together. If you like a love story, and if you are interested in finding out how it pans out with the appearance of Andrea Beaumont if she comes back as Phantasm. So there's not much really more I can say about that. I don't know what else to say, mate. It was really hyped up with all the variant covers. I think there was about 16 variant covers out there. From like Delotto, you had Peach Momoko, you had so many variant covers out there. And with a build up like that, I was expecting so much more.
It was, I think it was delayed if I remember correctly, and I think it was kind of a deflated after reading it. And it was only just enough of a good story although it was fragmented and the artwork was good, to get me hooked to actually read issue 2. But as I say, that's make or break for me. After that, I might just bin it.
I think this will be one that I'll take it off my pull list, and I'll pick it up if I need to, if I want to find out. See, my thing, I'm kind of want to find out if Phantasm comes back. That's my only thing. I'm more interested in seeing how that story pans out than I am the Bat and the Cat.
But the interesting thing I think is if see that last page or two, if that wasn't in that issue, would you have even cared? Would we even be talking about it? I doubt it. I'd give it a 3 for the art. And that's it.
See what I mean? Like we are building up. This is pretty great. So then up next we've got Thor number 10. I have to keep turning this branding off. See, like I've gone all technical, but I have to keep doing it. Thor number 10. Now, Donny Cates again. This is a perfect lead on, obviously, getting to the pièce de la résistance.
Indeed.
Donny Cates is back again, and for me, everything he touches turns to gold at the moment. You've got this, you've got the likes of Crossover, you've got Venom, you've got King in Black. You've got so much that he's working on at the moment, and he seems to be consistent throughout. Like there's a consistent greatness to what he's doing. I think issue number 8 or 9 of Thor kind of lacked the intensity and the grittiness of what we've had from Thor so far. There was obviously the comedic values in the previous one where you could call up Tony Stark's number and get through to Stark Industries and stuff. That was pretty decent. That was pretty cool. But he's kind of picked it up again, and he's timed it perfectly to do it with the grittiness, the action, and the gore and violence of Donald Blake tying into the last comic we've got coming up. But Donald Blake is free, and he is not a happy bunny.
He is not a happy puppy at all. I think, just to touch on Donny Cates' work, or Sir Donny Cates, as we should probably call him after this episode. Comic Deal and myself and Noob Comics were doing crossover, and we were talking about that comic. Honestly, some of the stuff he's doing in that is absolutely fantastic. From Thor's perspective, I agree with you. There was a couple of issues that weren't perfect, but it's because he's set the bar so high that even a good issue, we go, oh, what's up with Donny Cates? Is he having a bad day that day? But anybody who can take this character who is so unassuming and forgettable and do what he's done in the last couple of issues I take my imaginary hat off him.
Well, this is what I wrote down. I said it's such a dark story, and it's like Donny Cates really does enjoy doing these tormented souls type of character personas that he's putting together with the likes of Donald Blake. You've got the likes of Venom. He's kind of like this torn apart, doesn't know which way's up, which way's down. He's kind of with his father. He's got his father persona. He's got his kids. He's got to look after and everything like that. So he does it really well, if I'm being honest. Like Donny Cates has clearly got a style. It clearly works for him, and he's someone that if it's working well, he's not going to change it up.
Why change something that's working at the end of the day? I have to wonder, with all the comics that we've mentioned that he's doing, and even the stuff that he's done in the past that maybe not get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah. How
does that guy even sleep at night with the way the amount of writing that he's got in his head and the way that he can just develop characters now?
Yeah.
And saying that he can throw out characters a little bit, willy-nilly, as it were, and nothing happens with them. I guess come back to Tinian, it's similar to that, where he's throwing out character after character, maybe to sell a comic cover. But this was fantastic, and you want to read more. You just can't wait to see what happens with it.
It's just this whole scene here was when he just gets in. It's kind of like you can definitely see throughout flicking, like looking at the page and everything, you can definitely see that there was more thought and effort had gone into this issue than I think number 8 and 9. And it's basically,
totally,
for me, it was Cates shouting out to all the old school Thor fans saying, right, we're going back to the beginning now. We're going back to old school. This is what it's about. strap yourself in because this is going to be a bumpy ride.
Give them what the fans want. You know, I think he definitely listens to the fans to a certain extent, and he's definitely given them what they want in this particular issue. I mean, that third panel there kind of describes the issue, the madness, the frustration, the anger. Because at this particular point, he's basically looking at his past. This is a bit with the Beetle, isn't it? You know, isn't it? Yeah. So, spoiler alert: he's looking back to his past when he used to be a doctor in Nicaragua, I think it was, and when he was there, he get bitten by I can't remember what type of beetle it is, but it's meant to be the most painful bite that you can get from an animal. But then he realizes through reading these books that this was all just make believe and something that Odin had created. So he's effectively realizing that he's actually Odin and Thor's toy.
Yeah, it's just a pawn in a god's game, basically. And Hydra Collectibles is Kate's is the man, Thanos wins, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Guardians of the Galaxy, Silver Surfer, Black, Venom, and Thor. Honestly, there is no end to these guys' talents. And then on top of all that, while writing that, I think he proposed to his girlfriend at the start of the year or last year. Well, no, she proposed to him, I think.
That's right, yeah. The guy's my hero. I've just realised that he's my hero.
And the fact that he's good looking as well just fucking tops it off, doesn't it? You're like, oh, whatever, mate. And he's got
frustrating, isn't it?
He's got nice hair as well. I was watching an interview with him and Ryan Stegman, and he's just sitting there like, yeah, we just create a character and it seems to work, so let's just go with it. You're so blasé about the way that you do things. It's endearing because at the end of the day, he's a down-to-earth guy, and he's just become one of the hottest comic book writers out there at the moment.
It's absolutely crazy. I was at Thought Bubble Comic Fest last year, and he was doing a signing there, and he was sort of sitting there, and he had like a Thor jacket on, and everybody was commenting on it, and he's like, just you wait and see. So he knew exactly what was going to come up. He knew exactly what was happening.
And he's just bastard. In the best possible way. In the best possible way. You talented bastard. But I mean, this I like the fact that it was so dark and gritty, this issue, and it was intense, and it was kind of like, I really wanted to see how it was going to pan out. So I was kind of engulfed in reading it, and the fact like the white on the black text just makes you like, it's even more gripping to like look into it, read it, and then when Lady Sif comes in, she's like, for me, the only thing with this is that this fight scene was over too quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, okay, it's over too quickly because obviously Donald Blake knows, he's basically Thor, he knows everything about it, he's got all the memories of it, so going up against the God of Thunder, it's going to be a quick wham bam, thank you ma'am anyway, so.
I think it was just right. The amount of fight scenes, because I thought it was quality over quantity in this particular one, because he's up against these three guys and he just goes, oh, is that right? And throws the axe straight away. And, you know, I think it's the next panel, which is, and then he catches it. Yeah,
this was quite cool. Oh, this was like, I love Better Ray Bill. Better Ray Bill. I love him. Like, so when he just comes and goes, yeah, right, I'm gonna kick your ass. I'll be the judge of that. And it's like, Bill. It just goes on to this.
But what about that? That is stunning.
I know it's awesome, isn't it?
Is it Nick Klein? Is that the artist? Nick Klein.
Yeah. And the fact is, I've only just noticed now that Donald Blake's got this. He's got this crafty little blade that he's just literally cutting chunks out of. And it looks like a surgical blade, because with the blades like that, you can cut yourself and you won't even know you've cut yourself. But and then
I kind of think that's where he's learned those tricks, you know, as from his time as being a doctor. So he knows how to wield a scalpel and all that sort of stuff. I think it's that previous panel on the top right hand side where you can just it's almost the sound effects. It's like that.
Yeah.
That they do. I was like, oh, that's fantastic.
He's just snipping at the veins there. Yeah, like he's kind of taking everything that he's learned as Donald Blake has been a doctor in this lovely world where he's idyllic and everything's perfect, and then where he realizes that he's literally just been a pawn for all his life in this most messed up game of Odin's son and Thor. He's kind of taken on. He's grabbed the elements and the entities of everything, put them all into one, and we are left with like some sadistic maniac that just is hell-bent on revenge on whoever wants to stand in his way.
And it's kind of one of those things where he's obviously thought, well, Thor and Odin thought he was in a perfect world, you know, he was in there, and then it was like, well, not actually everything's what it seems, that you actually see it looks perfect, but it actually isn't perfect. And then the last issue, whenever he snapped that cane, you were just like, oh, party's on.
This was just, I mean, here, like when I thought this punch in the face, I thought, oh, maybe we got a fight on our hands here. And then obviously when we get to the last one, and Lady Sif has got the backing of the Goon Squad behind her, and they're all kicking off, and I thought, oh, this is going to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
And he made light work of them.
That's a great.
This is great, isn't it? And I love the fact that it goes from colour into just literally red and white, and white. Because as it gets more violent and he kills more people, it's just literally his rage is just unleashed.
It's fantastic. And even the perspective of that particular panel as well. And then you look in the faraway side, like it sort of leads you towards it, and then you just say, oh, so there's hundreds of them going to try and attack him, and then there's two that's just up in the air, and you go, oh, right, okay, so maybe he's not going to lose. No,
but then I think it just goes on to this one, and this is where he just literally just picks him up and he throws him out of the window like he's a bit of paper.
Piece of trash, yeah.
It is the piece of trash. And then again, at the bottom thing, we just see him just go, and Lady Sif's arm's gone.
That's crazy.
It is just mental. And then he's literally just, it looks like a scene out of bloody John Wick.
Kill Bill. That's what it reminded me of.
Kill Bill, yeah. He's just there. And I thought this was quite significant, where he says, I assure you. And he just slams the sword down.
Yeah. And he strands them on some planet.
Yeah. And then this goes back, doesn't it, to the Dimension Blood. And this is where is this? Dimension
the grounds
Blood.
Of the Vampire Cabra. So you can imagine it's all to do with vampires and all the rest of it. But look at those big wasp fly things up at the top right hand side. It's like,
this is like Honey, I Shrunk a Kid. And then obviously, look, he's just literally this panel up here. I thought was quite nice, because I was kind of like, oh, is this a flashback? And then you kind of see the scalpel, you see the blood, you see the hair, and you're like, right, he now knows exactly who he is. He now knows exactly what his game plan is. He's going to be manipulative. And then this panel here kind of reminded me of like the first issue of Folklore.
Yes, 100%.
You know, where he's just walking down there, and I was kind of, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. And then we get to this, and it's like, oh, Jormungand, what the hell? What the fuck's happened?
They've effectively swapped roles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously Thor and Odin, he would hit the stick, and they would swap into Thor, and he would be able to go and do what he wants to do. It's role reversal now, and he's just flipped on his head, and he's going to just wreak havoc. So, and
it's very interesting how he's learned to do that, like how his mindset has changed, and he's kind of like, well, hold on. I know exactly what I'm doing now. I'm gonna wreak havoc. I'm gonna get you back for creating me and sending me this idyllic world of where I thought I lived and everything was perfect, where it clearly isn't. And then we get to the last panel. I mean, that's not Donald? Is that Donald Blake up the top? It is, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's basically coming out of that shop because he's just bought a nice new suit.
Yeah, and then you think, oh, I wonder where he's off to go. Well, oh, there we go. So he's in a hospital, and then I was starting to think, okay, but this is what I thought was quite cool. As it gets further and further, is he? It looks to me like he's focused in his eye, and as Donald Blake gets closer and closer to the end scene, the eye closed, and I think it is, because he says everything you have ever loved. Boom, there she is, Lady Jane.
Boom.
Boom.
Oh wow. Yeah,
but I mean, for me, like every page you read, I just wanted to read more and more, and
absolutely, yeah.
I kind of didn't want it to end, and especially when it got to this, I was like, oh, I've got to turn the page, I've got to turn it, and it was ended.
Yeah, it's one of those ones I think that if you haven't read it and you're waiting to get it in trade or an absolute edition or anything, you will just consume that in a couple of hours, because you just want more. You want more. The one thing I was going to say a couple of panels back is that Donald Blake could effectively, he reminded me a wee bit like the Joker when he was walking through the nice town, he was just kind of a,
this one here.
This one here, with his new look and fresh look and stuff like that, you stick a bit of makeup on him and that's
it's the grin. It is the grin, isn't it? It's the grin and the grin and the chin and everything. And when he's just walking through, you kind of think you're so manipulative. And he's just casually walking along with a sword, as you do.
And his stick.
But I think the Cantonese comic kid just summed it up. Thor 10 was great.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm definitely, it just got better and better with every issue. It's got better and better with every issue. And I think if we kind of ignore issues 8, that was like the comedic one, and we skipped to like 9 and 10, it's been consistently great. The artwork, the writing, the style of it is sublime. I'm very interested to find out what happens with Lady Jane in this. How is this? Is she going to realise that isn't Thor? Is she going to think, yep, that's definitely Donald Blake? Is it all going to pan out?
Well, that's the thing. I suppose Jane knows that it's Donald because you see the last panel there. She's like, "Oh, Donald." And she's like, "Jane," so she knows who he is. But I just don't think she knows who he is at the minute.
Is she going to realise that it's not the one that she's familiar with?
Absolutely.
It's going to be interesting to see. And I think Luke just said this was up there in my rankings this week. Keep flipping between this and King in Black. It's definitely. Why wouldn't you? Thanks for checking in, Cantonese Comic Kid. You're on the right track, but I think the only way to type this got an 8 out of 10 for me, 100%. This was kind of up there with the read of the week, not read of the week, because obviously I know what the read of the week was. I read it about. I think I'm up to reading it 6 times, but it was one of the read of the week for me. But I think the only way we can kind of go into it now is, I think, should we just do it?
I think, just do it.
I can feel him screaming through the black towards me, towards us, towards the whole of creation. His hands wrapping around the world's throat. This is it. No more running, no more hiding. No, the Lord of the Abyss, God of the symbiotes. He's here. So, it's time to go to work. Your God is awake, and God is coming.
Holy shit. That is how you start a new event.
I was going to rip this mic off and just drop it.
This is by far, this is my read of the week. This has been 2 years in the making, and this is the brainchild of Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. This, for me, I remember talking to you yesterday, like, this is insane. Like, this was, I'm kind of like, I've been wanting to talk about this all bloody week, and it was...
Dude, we were like 2 kids at Christmas in our conversation, talking about this one, panel by panel, page by page. We were just like, oh my god, did you see that piece? Did you see that bit? Let's delve into it, shall we?
I mean, I'm not going to be funny. Like, Noel has been coming for 2 years, and I think we can all agree that his entrance, he's finally here, and
Holy fear.
I think Greyman, Dracula gets venomized. I've got to say, he's a badass, man. I can't see how this is going to pan out. Like, obviously, there was a massive part in it, and I'm going to say now there was a massive part in this that Luke from Hydra Collectibles, about 2.5, 3 months ago, called it, and he was spot on with it. So a massive shout out to Luke for that, because we will get to that scene, but I'm saying it here. He called it 2.5 months ago, and he was spot on. It didn't last for long, but he was spot on with it.
If there was any comic or any run that was going to maybe not hit the heights that it had set up, 2 years in the making, the run up with Venom and everything else and spin-offs, if it was going to be one comic, it was going to be this. And this absolutely blew every other comic out of the water this week.
I mean, there was about 20, I think I put it on my show on Monday, there was 24 to 26 variant covers on this.
Cha-ching!
Yeah. I don't think Greyman's a fan. He's like, is it Noel's house party? we're just waiting for Mr. Nobby to show up.
Hey, venomized.
Noel is a headbanger though. Yeah, Noel is a headbanger. See, so you should like him, Greyman, because you're into your headbanging and stuff like that. But I mean, there was 20. Yeah, I think there's 26 variant covers out for this, and there's been some great ones. There's some like seriously heavy price tags out there with like I think it's the Delotto team variant. But for me, I like this is the main cover, and I like this.
Yeah, it was only after I'd read the story then started looking at other covers that you sort of get an appreciation for it, because there's lots of things in this cover that people probably miss. But the cover that stood out for me was I think it's Donny Cates's tattoo artist that done it.
Yeah.
So it's like the tattoo symbol. I thought that was a standout cover for me of all the ones that I'd seen.
See, I was talking to Whack Comics on Monday, and it's a subtle, straightforward grey background with the tattoo on it, and I liked it. I liked the simplicity of it, but then I thought there could have been like a trade variant of that where it was Venom or it's Eddie Brock, and he's got the tattoo on him.
Yeah.
That would have been quite cool.
That'd have been sweet.
I mean, there's so much to talk about in this. I mean, like, I've got to say, Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman have absolutely smashed the ball out the park for this, in my opinion, and it's only issue 1. Absolutely,
totally. Even that first page, it was just like, okay, what's happening?
Yeah,
and then boom, right into that second page, and you strap yourself in.
This was like when you just see all the phones going Billy-O and they're all calling the Avengers signs coming up. You're thinking, where's the Avengers, man? Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, it's Marvel franchise, so it's going to be family friendly, and Captain America gets smacked in the head and then he'll bounce back and stuff like that. But then it kind of turned quite dark and sadistic, where Eddie Brock goes into father mode and he's kind of like, right, yep, the time is now. I've got to not be Venom for a second. I've got to go, and my main priority is my son. I've got to kind of look after him.
Yeah, it's like the juxtaposition of despair in the first two panels or first two pages, and then it goes straight to peace and peaceful. And you sort of think to yourself, oh, this is the multifaceted character that we're dealing with here. Yeah. And I thought this was a beautiful page and a beautiful few panels, and it sort of set things up because it was so fast paced that you needed times like this where it just slowed down. Yeah. And this is kind of like, it brings back the tranquility of, because we've seen this through the Venom. Now, obviously, this is a continuation of the Venom and the whole symbiote Carnage story and stuff like that. So it's all tied in. But throughout them comics, we've had bits like this that have slowed the reader down, brought you back to ground level, and then flipped on his head and took you back up again. Yeah. But I mean, this was like, he kind of feels guilty. He's kind of like, I've got you in this position. You didn't know me 2 years ago, and now we've been to different dimensions. You've met your mum who died, but she's alive, but she didn't want you because her other son. And it's kind of like, I feel really sorry for him. I'm kind of like and that's testament to the artwork, I think, that it makes you actually feel like that, because You know, anybody who is a father is in those pages.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're just thinking about your own kids, and if you were in that position.
Yeah.
So I thought it was absolutely beautiful, especially that last panel. You know, you just look at his eyes, and it tells you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, there's like anguish and hurt in them eyes because he's kind of like, I've now got to go and do something that could ultimately end in my death, but also in your death. So he's kind of not just fighting for himself in the world now, he's kind of fighting for his son. And it's kind of like just, I think if this had started, this comic, if it had started like so, like as GP Venom just said, the calm before the storm, if these two panels had been the start of it, I think it wouldn't have had that as much effect as it did where he's interacting with the Avengers and be like, right, yeah, it's time. I think it needed that to get you involved, and then it kind of slows you down.
Yeah.
And then we get back into it again.
It's that almost roller coaster effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you're on the ride with Donny Cates, and you're going up, and then boom, this is where you start to go down.
And I read this before Thor, and I wish I'd read Thor first because it would have set me up to read this, because obviously you kind of know with the action and impact and the grittiness and stuff like that you see in Thor, it would have been a perfect transition to read over to this. And I mean, it's not bad. Obviously, I think if you're a fan of Venom and the symbiotes and Carnage and Donny Cates and everything, you would have been chomping at the bit to get this comic. So you would have read it, and you wouldn't have held back. You would have read it and read it again. So I think the transition between reading this and Thor, obviously they're both Donny Cates, we both like him and stuff like that. So, but I think it's done so well, like the artwork, the colours, the way that it's dark with the flashes of light and everything just comes in. Like the Avengers, Tony Stark is all badass for sitting at a computer. To be fair, he looks like he's sitting at a computer just swiping left.
Yeah.
It's like
symbiote Tinder.
He is. But for me, when he kept saying, "Is the big guy here yet?" I instantly thought, "Where's Hulk?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Where's Hulk?" Because Hulk is like, he's known as the big guy, and I was like, "Where's Hulk?" And they're like, "Yeah, well, we can't get hold of him yet." So I'm like, "Oh, he's in his Bruce Banner stage. No one can get hold of him." And I was like,
but you had to think, even if the Hulk wouldn't have come, you know, it's like, okay, is that the best you've got, guys?
Yeah. Because then I was thinking, what is the Hulk gonna do? Like, is he gonna go all up inside himself like he did in Infinity War and just not bow down to Thanos like he did, or is he actually going to come and bring the heat? But it wasn't even him, and I was like, oh my god, this is like, I was just like, yeah, this is great. Okay, the big guy's coming. Who is the big guy? And then I'm like, well, you got one of the big guns there. You got Captain Marvel, you got She-Hulk, you got Steve Rogers, you got Iron Man. The only one missing is Hulk, so you kind of like put two and two together. It's got to be Hulk. Yeah. And then you're like, yeah,
that top panel though is
it's insane, isn't it? It was like, but we're going to need a bigger bomb. And then for 1 minute, I looked at that bottom right panel and I was like, Tony Stark's been infected by a symbiote here, because his hair, the way that his hair and the colour of it looks like a symbiote's like got onto him, and I was like, well, this could be a turning point. And they all kind of look evil in the way that the lighting and everything's done here. They all look kind of evil and sadistic. And then this was just, I was like, they're gone. They're blown up. They're all dead. Like, it's going to happen. And then when Tony Stark's face drops and he's like, that's a hit. Okay. Now what were you saying about my... And then obviously Eddie can feel it and he's like, you haven't even made a dent. Like, what you're doing, you ain't even done nothing. And then Tony Stark's, his face drops and he's just like, oh, shit. Yeah,
but it was an absolute fan pleaser. This even the top section of that page wasn't the best part of this for me. It was the bottom right hand side where you've got the typical Captain America stance of him running, like old school Captain America. Fantastic. And
he's just running. I don't know what like She-Hulk's doing behind. Is she just coming out the toilet?
I thought that as well. See, the previous pages as well. She's kind of just like posing, like, you know, check me out sort of thing with her arms folded. It's like, you know, come on. Do your role, do your job.
Yeah. And then she just pops out the toilet. And then this for me, the King of Black, this was
beautiful.
Fucking awesome. It's just hell is raining down thick and fast as much as you can.
That's a print ready to happen.
Oh, mate, it is, isn't it? And this was quite, again, it's calmed it down again. And obviously you've got the anger and anguish of Eddie there. And he's like, look, guys, son, you just need to stay. Just do one thing. Just listen to me. Just stay here. I've got to go out and save the world. And he really doesn't. I think there's probably half of him that's kind of like, I know what you can do. I know you can tap into him. I know you can do this, but I don't think you're ready yet.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's more to come from Dylan, if I'm honest.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. The thing, I love the pace that was set in that top right-hand side panel. You know, you could just see that there was a lot of, you know, anxiety in that. And then you go to the panel where he's putting in the number. And I did notice that the number that he was putting in was 616. It was like a little nod to Earth 616 there. So
I didn't realise that until you told me before we started the show. And it was just, it's like, it's the little touches like that.
Brilliant.
It's just
clean up to the fans. That's what it is. It's, you know, it's brilliant.
Definitely. And then obviously this closing scene here is like, I love you, son.
Yeah, when it's going like that, you're like, oh, don't go.
He's done. And it's like, Brock, Cap, plan B, I know. And you're just like, well, what could actually plan B do? You know, the comic deal. She-Hulk, she's sass, she can do whatever she wants. We got a fanboy here. We got a fanboy. Oh no, we've got two fanboys.
She's no Howard the Duck.
No, she's not Howard the Duck. But then here we go. Look, this is it. You think, oh, plan B. What could actually get worse?
This is where they set it up, isn't it? Where they're talking about the different attacks. It's like ground, air, and then the third one, which we'll get into.
So then, for me, right, this panel here, you think nothing else should happen. They're all talking, and then all of a sudden it comes over the panel of Iron Man. Captain, please excuse me. Please excuse the intrusion into your minds. This is Charles Xavier.
No.
If you require backup, please stand by. And then the whole X-Men, all of the X-Men just burst onto the scene. Now you've got Wolverine, Cyclops, they're all looking badass. You've got Nightcrawler hanging out the mouth of one of the symbiote dragons. And then for me, Storm absolutely kills it.
Yeah.
Like the way she just literally tells Charles to shut up, I'm trying to concentrate.
Yeah, I'm busy. Leave me alone.
What are you doing? Oh my God, this was insane. This was the anger on their faces. You know that shit's about to get real, and you know, like, this is the worst they've ever faced. Like, you can just tell.
It's very rare in a comic that you get more than one maybe page or maybe double page spread that you go, oh, that's the one. This had them in nearly every single page. You could say it's like, almost like a classic. It was
just sublime. And even this bit here, right? So obviously this is the Spire where the Carnage literally took over New York. So again, tying this back, it just drags you back in again to the whole Carnage story. You're kind of like, this is why I enjoyed it. This is why I started reading it. This is why I got into it. This is what ties in with Venom. He's kind of grabbed everything, brought into one nucleus, and it's looks like it's going to implode from the inside out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I thought they'd done that really well. I guess it's Donny Cates, isn't it? He does it all the time. He just brings it's the sum of all its parts. I definitely think this is an issue that you would need to know the sort of backstory and having read maybe the other comics and some of it. I think if you go into this sort of fresh, it's an enjoyable read and it hits you, but you definitely need to know that backstory to actually get the full effect.
I mean, I for one was really hoping that Venom was going to be able to get his own team together. I was like, yeah, he's going to do it. But then I'm kind of like, well, you're going up against your owner. Basically, the symbiote you're wearing, he's the god of all symbiotes.
Yeah.
He's the god of the Necrosword. He's the god of like all darkness and everything. So there's no way you're going to be able to put up your own team. And I was kind of like, come on, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And then, I mean, this last panel here, he's fully implanted in the Matrix. He's right, let's do this. Let's go.
That's what they call Wave 3, isn't it? So it's basically him implanting himself.
Wave 3 is Venom. And then obviously I felt so sorry for Stephen Strange. I was like, he's dead, mate. He can't hold off. And then
it's like your swirly magic isn't going to work.
Yeah, that's it. I'm going to do this. And then, but this next panel where you can kind of see all transitions. You've got Eddie Brock you've got Venom, you've got Carnage, you've got Null, you've got 4 or 5 pieces of the whole story in one panel there. In his face, it's just insane.
I think there was one thing that we might have missed just at the start, where they were talking about the weakness. So the weakness that he has is the lightning, is the cosmic power, and the magic. Those 3 things. Yeah. And as soon as I heard the cosmic power, I automatically thought of Cosmic Ghost Rider jumping in and doing these things. So you never know. Donnie, if you're watching, you can have that one for free.
Mate, he's probably like he's about 15 issues in front of us. He knows what he's thinking in 2025. Exactly. So he's like, whatever, Andy, mate, that's already been done. But yeah, it's just like literally where he just says, "Arc, I'm in. I can see it," and he just think it's like kind of he's opened up that gateway, and then when Noel's like, "Oh hello, hello, boy," or whatever it is. Oh, I mean these up the top left where you've got Tony Stark, Captain America, Storm, Wolverine. What's his name? Iron Fist and Spider-Man. They're all like, shit.
When was the last time you ever seen a panel with Captain America looking like that?
Never.
To be fair,
I can't remember. But I think it's the fact that it's just this whole panel here that Noel has taken things back to the origins of the Celestials. The Celestials. It's just like
as only Donny Cates could do.
And it's just like where they just come down. And the bottom right scene where it says, "I see my reputation precedes me, so I won't waste your time." I'm like,
oh no.
And then this is it. This is here he is. He's just like, "I'm going to kill your world." I looked at the panel. I'm not even going to lie, for about 5 minutes, just thinking,
yeah, that's your second printing cover. You've heard it here first, I guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean, this was he just looks badass. Like, he does look badass. And the way he's just walking out with the Necrosword, and you're just like, you ain't got a hope in hell.
Another character with fantastic hair as well. What's going on? Did you get me on this show for a reason?
I'm just sending subliminal messages to you. What is it Luke said? If you have a god that needs killing, bring back Gore. But see, this is what I think. So obviously, like, Noel wins. Like, at the end of the day, he's the god of everything. He's the god of all the symbiotes. He's the creator of the All Black, the Necrosword. He's more powerful than Gore and Galactus and Thanos and stuff like that. So maybe they all do come back, like, to tag team with the good to finally beat this guy. That would be epic.
Is it almost like the last movie in Avengers where they all come and just kick Thanos' arse? It's a little bit like that, you know?
Mate, that could be a thing. But I mean, this here, right? Captain America's bricking it now. He's like, okay, everyone, get back. Tony, the game has changed. Where the hell is the? And then I'm like, it's got to be the Hulk. Where's the Hulk? He ain't showed up yet. Up. Getting a lock on him now. Be careful. Noel's right on top of. Yeah, you can kind of see there. And he's like, oh, how nice. And then I did point this out. So obviously Daredevil 25 has been massive. It is as Elektra, as Daredevil. But if you do look in this panel here, guys, just behind Luke Cage and Captain Marvel, there she is. Elektra has made her appearance in King in Black. There she is. Is this her second appearance? Is this her first appearance? Who knows? Because depending on, it can go down to print, it can go to release date and stuff. But
yeah.
She's there.
That Daredevil comic's going for crazy money in the aftermarket. It's absolutely crazy.
What is it? Comic Deal says Howard the Duck is going to beat him easy. He's going to stroll through. Yeah, he's going to be standing next to the Wasp. He's going to stroll through with his little sword or his little gun. Yeah.
What about a venomized Howard the Duck?
Oh, if they turn that into a Funko Pop, I'd get that. But a venomized Howard the Duck.
There we go.
What if the bird that's in the bath with her boobs out is venomized as he flies through the wall?
We're in the wrong job.
I love that film. Thanos wins the future, which Donny Cates wrote, so it must come round to that. Thanos versus Noel. Now, Luke can kind of see into the future, which we're going to see in the next couple of chapters, in the next panel. So I'm going to go with Luke on this. My money's on Luke. that this happens. So, Luke, don't let me down. Look into your Crystal Collectibles ball, and I'm behind you all the way on that, mate. 100%. But the next panel, I was kind of like, I'm not even gonna lie, the hairs on my neck stood up, and it was like, normally we're the last guys you ever want to see, but today we're just here to watch. I know. I didn't plan one. Sorry, I didn't know if we're just here to watch. He's here and awaiting your orders, Cap. Permission to engage. Permission granted. Ooh. And he's here. I was like, no. Oh shit, he's here. Like, it is. Oh my god, the Sentry's here. And I'm thinking, all right, the game's changed. Like, Noel's going to retreat. He's backed into a corner. What's he going to do?
Yeah.
And it's just when, yes, sir, Captain, it would be my pleasure. And he just literally comes straight down through one of the Celestials, straight down to Noel, gets him in a bloody, looks like he's going for a Randy Orton RKO out of nowhere, grabs him, takes him in a chokehold, takes him up and goes, "Hi, my name's Bob."
Welcome to Deadville.
Hello, Bob. You can call me the Sentry. This will be over inner. And you're like, no. And I'm like, oh, no.
You're talking too much. You're talking too much, Sentry. Stop talking. Just get on with it.
And Luke says, I knew we would see Sentry and knew he wouldn't survive the encounter. Too many people specking him being the light to oppose Noel. Told everyone that him being part void would be his downfall. You called it, mate. I did mention a couple of minutes ago that you did mention it. You are the one, and I stand behind you on this. 2 months ago, you shouted it out. You see it. I think there was a cover or there was an image of, was it Noel or someone with the S on their chest or on their belt or something was wearing it, and Luke called it 100%. So that's why I'm definitely behind it for Thanos to come back. Hey, dudes, talking comics. Thanks for checking in, mate. But yeah, this was. Go on, mate.
Sorry, buddy. I'm just going to say, which makes me. I'm thinking a crossover here, and the end panel in the first issue crossover where everybody thinks it's Superman. I wonder if it's Sentry.
Do you know what? Yeah, because everyone like draw it, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's the S, it's Superman on his chest and stuff." But that'd be pretty cool if it was. But I think it's definitely Superman. It's got to be Superman the way that he's.
I went on a crossover tangent there.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. It's Donny Cates. Why not? We should have just called this the Killer Comics with Donny Cates. Yes. Dudes talking comics. The outcome of Sentry and Noel had me like, what? I don't think you were the only one, mate. I was just reading it, and I was on my lunch, and I kind of let out a. And everyone in the lunch was like, "Oh, is you right over there, mate?"
Yeah, I was kind of a similar because I was obviously working from home, and I let out a little. All I can describe it as a sort of girly scream whenever the next panel.
A little yell. Yeah. Symbiotes cannot bond with the dead. Marvel Zombies #1, and in Thor we saw a vision of Thanos wielding a glove with a zombie army. So I totally agree with you with this, and I've kind of obviously, like, people that know me, I'm a Funko Pop collector as well, like that. So Marvel have just brought out a Funko Pop Fantastic Four Venomized box, right? And my main thing with that is that the Human Torch has been venomized. Now, we kind of know that the symbiotes don't like fire, so how have they gone and done that? And I kind of question that. I just like tweeted and put a hashtag like Marvel Funko Pop. How is this possible? No one's got back to me, but I kind of thought it was a valid point.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because that particular panel that they're talking about with Thanos and the glove and stuff like that, yeah. I think there was a lot of spec that it was his son. Mm-hmm. That it might not actually been Thanos. It might have actually been his son. So I don't know how far that got.
I mean, James has said a good point there. I wonder if the part in Thor where Thor says the Black Winter showed him his death, which was Thanos, and an army of something behind him will play into this. Maybe if it's Thanos versus Thor, that could be quite good. I mean, I wonder if Doctor Strange see 1.6 million endings to this. I don't think he did, if I'm honest. But I don't know what you've been reading, GP, mate. But I definitely, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you the next panel, and I definitely don't think he lives. This was insane. I think the look on Eddie Brock's face is exactly how I looked. It's exactly how I looked. I'm not even lying. When I see this panel, I was like, I think I messaged you straight away and was like, he's just ripped the Sentry in half.
Yeah. And at that particular point, I don't think you knew how much I'd read and anything like that.
No.
And I'd literally just passed that page.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking to myself, if he'd have messaged me that just before I read that, oh, he would have been, oh.
I kind of held back, so I was like, right, I was reading it again. I was like, right, you must be up to date because you just told me. And I was like, it's 4 minutes now. I've got to text him. But this was, I was like, Jesus. And the fact that you just see Bob's face, I feel so sorry for Bob. And you just see the intention, the anger, the hate, and the ravenous of Noel in his face. He's like, I'm not messing around, man. I'm not messing around. This is, you are in the void now. There is no way out, and you ain't coming back. And he ripped him in half. It's not even like he took his arm off. He ripped the man in half.
There was no question whether or not this guy was going to live or not. But it's great, it's fantastic and stunning as the artwork is. Can we just take a minute to look at the colours on this? I don't know the colourist off the top of my head, but it's phenomenal.
It's insane. And it is, like, dude talking comics. I am the void, mate. Honestly, I felt something inside of me had died when I see this. I was like, my God, it's the first time we've seen a Sentry in God knows how long. And he's literally shown up for a cameo that lasted quicker than I could finish my tea.
Yeah, basically told him to bob off.
He did. He said, bob off, mate. He said, I'm also a huge Sentry fan, so I was sort of upset. But so far, I love issue 1. I think that goes for everyone. I was quite upset. And I think even the Avengers, like Captain America had obviously been... Hold on, what's happened here? Captain America had obviously been tweeting him. Oh, we're skipping him. Captain America had obviously been tweeting him saying, Bob, right, time it right. When I give the sign... Just pop down, sort it out, and then you can kind of go. And I was kind of expecting, like when Captain Marvel appears in Endgame, and she just comes down, she goes straight to Thanos and picks it up. I thought, oh, this is kind of like the same setup, the same intensity on the back foot. It's going to happen, and oh my God, like he ripped man, he just ripped him in half.
I think what disappointed me was the fact that he introduced himself first.
Hi, I'm Bob.
Yeah, it's like where was the element of surprise for the most powerful being in the universe? You don't come up and introduce yourself, shake his hand, and say, like,
it wasn't even that. It wasn't even hi, I'm Bob. It was like, my name's Bob. Do you honestly think, like, you're going up against the god of the symbiotes? Do you really think he cares if you're on a first name basis? But I kind of like the little comedic values that Kate's put in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because like it's a very intense, graphic, dark, gritty story. So when there's bits like this that pop up, you're like, oh, it's kind of good. But then when you go back to this, it's like, mate, this is the panel for me. This is like, and after he's done that, child, I am Noel, Lord of the Abyss, God of the symbiotes, the darkness inside of you, the darkness bows to me, I am the void. And it's just like...
That was the first sentence I used in my last job interview.
Did you get the job?
I am the void, that's all you need.
You should have done it. You should have walked into the room, turned the lights off, and then said it. And then just ripped your shirt off like Hulk.
I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have went that far. That's just...
It showed your little Sentry belt on. But I think here it's just like the Avengers, like they realise that they can't come up against anything.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. Like they've come up against the Chitauri in New York. They've come up against bloody Ultron. They've come up against everything, and nothing compares to this. And this last panel here of Steve's hand, you're like, is that actually it?
I felt as if I'd seen that panel before somewhere, either on a cover or something like that. But I couldn't quite nail it.
It is on a cover before. If anyone in the chat knows where a kind of similar cover has come from,
it's like a homage almost. That last panel.
But I mean, I've got to agree with Dude Talking Comics. He says, I wanted a little more of a longer battle, but I guess Donny Cates wants to prove a point as to how powerful Noel is. I totally agree with you that I thought it could have continued a bit longer, but then it kind of loses the intensity and the furore of how powerful Noel is, all this mighty being and stuff. But the fact is that when Noel is just done with that, he's like, was that it? Was that it
Yeah.
then? Your defiant last stand. I must say, I'm not terribly impressed. I had hoped the mighty Earth would have proven more worthy of a battle. I'm like, mate, this geezer is badass.
And we have to remember this was their plan B.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their plan A had already, hadn't worked. So this was a plan B.
Didn't even touch the sides, did it?
No.
And he hasn't even broken a sweat. He's already come down. He's near enough killed everyone. You've got Luke Cage there dying. You've got Captain America's hands. And then he's literally ripped a man in half.
Yeah.
And you're like, what else could you actually have planned? And then it's like, oh, okay, this sky of yours, no more distractions. And it literally just closes up. I thought this was great, like just to see this, how easy it was for him to just create a void around the whole entire Earth.
That was effectively his Thanos clicking the fingers.
Yeah, it is. Look how black his eyes have gone and his fist is clenched and he's just like, right, that's it. Game over. And then we have this.
Yeah.
Isn't this so much better? And then Storm, like, I love Storm. I thought she was great. Right, Luke's got to shoot. Great, guys. Catch the end on the replay. Luke, thanks for checking in, mate. Once again, you called it with a Sentry. It's just a shame he couldn't stay around much longer. You've also called it that it could. Who will end Noel's reign of terror? Luke's called it again, and I'm 100% behind you, mate. So thanks for checking in, Luke. I will speak to you soon. Thanks for watching. But Storm, I thought she was wicked. Like, honestly, I was like, she's killing it. And I was like, well, she's got the lightning, she's affecting them somehow. And then Noel's just like, oh, hello, little light.
you actually forget about her because of all the stuff that's happened before. You go, oh yeah, she's still there.
Yeah, and then it's like, hello, little light. Boom. And you're like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
And Tony Stark's just like, oh mate, that's my girl crush number 4. She's gone. And it's just the intensity that you see here. You see Storm kind of knows that she's hopeless because she says it. And then you've kind of got Tony Stark, the anguish on his face. You've got Charles Xavier's kind of like, there's nothing I can do now. I can't even do anything.
Yeah,
and then
game over.
Eddie Brock, I swear to God, you two better have some good news for me, or I'm going to, we know how bad it is, but we're going to try something. And then this was it. So this was obviously their final push. Was this plan C?
Yeah, this was like wave 3, I think they called it.
Yeah, wave 3.
Waves, so that's wave 3.
But even Tony Stark's like, it ain't gonna work. Like this is, we ain't tried everything yet. Like we haven't extinguished everything we've got left. And you're kind of like, well, you have. And Eddie's kind of done. And this was kind of like, I really enjoyed this scene. Like it was like Venom talking to Eddie Brock. Like
that was cool.
Wanted to make sure you knew that and you kind of know that even over the whole of the Venom years and all the arcs and the symbiotes and the carnage and everything and the backwards and forward Eddie has with Venom and stuff like that, you kind of know that they come as one. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I think it was in Venom, was it Venom 28 where he loses it and he's kind of like, I don't know what to do. Like I haven't got my other. And it was quite cool to see that after all this, they've kind of become they are part of each other. They're both beings, aren't they?
Yeah, they almost need each other. That's
yeah. And you kind of see that in previous Venom issues. You kind of see how much Eddie does need Venom.
And
he does need his symbiote. He does need his symbiote. But this last panel, the bottom one, let's go meet our maker. The fact that it's just, that is basically what it is. It's the struggle between two. It's either does the symbiote go with Eddie or does he go with Noel? Because he's obviously being pulled in 2 directions. And then this. Hello, little one. I hear you calling. Just picks up his Nokia. Hello, mate.
Diddly.
But it's like, look what, come to me, join us. Look what we have created. And he's just like, he's literally looking out on the world and is in anguish. There's nothing left. And just look how easy he manhandles Eddie Brock. He's literally like, he's just picking him up. He's just tossing him around like he's a toy.
Well, he's got the thirst for it now, hasn't he? After what he's done to Sentry, so
But then, like when he turns around and goes, I should have specified which Brock. I was like, oh, mate, no way. Eddie has done all that he can. He's kind of led him down this road. Like, his tunnel hold it all to him. And he's like, yeah, I'm not even interested in you now. And he's like, no, it's me you want. We beat you, you son of... your fight is with us. Leave my son alone. Please take me. And he's like, no.
I just love the way it's like, you know, even the sound effect in the bottom left-hand side here, and you can just imagine him just ripping it off. You know, it's just like...
Hold it off him like a Velcro suit.
Off you. Yeah.
I will take my child from you, and then I will take yours. But I am afraid I don't have much use for you, host. And then you just roll it. And honestly, it was just...
I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted after it.
Honestly, I felt like I was falling like Eddie Brocky. I was like, oh my God. I felt like I just had an out-of-body experience, and this comic for me, right, out of everything that surrounded it, you kind of knew what it was it was hyped up. It hyped up so much that for me it lived up to the expectation, with the little parts of the battle scenes going on for more than it was. For me, it was more than a comic. It was like I was reading a movie.
100%. That's exactly what I had in the notes here. It was like it almost feels like whatever, I think it's 5 issues this is going to run for, plus all the spin-offs, but it felt like this was a mini movie. And this is the first issue, remember, guys? You know, this is the start. This could have easily been the whole run just in these 30 odd pages, but we've got issue 2, 3, 4 and 5 to go to, and it's just can't wait.
And you just think, like, there's so much going on. How much of Stegman and Kate actually got? Like, their back catalogue must just be insane, because they're constantly blowing it out of the water with Venom, which must take a hell of a lot of get up and go to constantly put out this sensational stuff issue after issue. And then to build up, like, I'm not being funny, they've built this comic up constantly for 2 years. Like, Noah's been coming. So you've got to have some sense in your mind that if this doesn't live up to expectations, I've lost everything. Like, people are going to be like, mate, you built this up and it hasn't lived up to it.
And that's the thing, of all the people who don't need to build things up, it's Donny Cates. You know, he could have just kept going and doing what he's doing with Thor and everything else that he's in crossover. You know,
I hope Grey Man's wrong. I hope Grey Man's wrong, but
I was literally just going to say exactly what the Grey Man had put there. My only concern is that this was so good that the second issue has a lot to live up to.
100%.
A lot to live up to.
And even Tom said it's more epic than Infinity War, which goes back to the fact it's like you were reading a movie.
Yeah.
Like this, I could see this becoming a movie. If I was sitting in a cinema watching this, you know, people are going to be on the edge of their seats going, oh, no! Like, do you know what I mean? As they were with the Avengers and stuff. And I'd love to see this as a film. But then there's the doubt of me that, as the Grey Man said, you've got to keep up a level, right? Donny Cates and Stegman, they've got to keep. They're at the peak at the moment, and they've got to do something special to beat this for a first issue, and the mass excitement that surrounded it. You've got to either keep it up, you've either got to make it better, or it's got to be consistent to engage because for me this appeals to moviegoers as well.
Oh, without doubt. I think the video that you showed at the start kind of give you a feel for what maybe a dark animated series for this run would be like. I think that'd be really cool to explore.
But I think James said, I hope Eddie was wearing clean undies. Going to be embarrassing if he has sun skid marks when he's falling. I think he actually falls 1,148 feet. I think I read that. But I mean, look at this. It's just like literally tunnel hold. That's his vision. Like, imagine seeing that. You're falling out of the sky. Yeah. And the thing you look up at is that.
But I think the interesting that last panel, because it takes a while to kind of get the perspective, but it's obviously him. He's just been holding them and just went.
It's just gone like that, yeah.
Just left it.
But this is going to be so. It's not just the King in Black. There are some tie-ins as Marvel like to do. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be as massive as it was with like War of the Worlds, War of the Realms, or Empire. But there is I've got the list here, and it is So up next we have King in Black #1, then it goes to Atlantis #5, which I think was released a couple of weeks ago, or it might be coming up. The Immortal Bigger Shack. Thanks for checking in, mate. Then it goes to the Union one, which came out yesterday as well. I read that. That kind of ties in. It's pretty cool. If you haven't read the Union, it's all about like the UK superheroes and how they're dealing with this. It's a pretty cool end scene. The way that Knowles Dragons enter that. Then you've got Venom 31. Oh, it was 1,454 feet, not 1,448.
There we go.
So I was 7 out.
Do you reckon you would have to read all the tie-ins to get the story, or do you think just anybody who's jumping into this who maybe has not read Venom or the backstory or any of the tie-ins could just jump in and read five issues?
Someone messaged me on Instagram and was like, "Oh, I've picked up King in Black, so I haven't read it yet, so I won't be checking into your show. But would you advise me reading Venom and Carnage?" And I said, there are tie-ins to it, obviously, where we go back to the Spire and it ties back into Carnage. But I said, if you kind of have a brief understanding of what's been happening and you understand what's been happening in Venom, I reckon you could pick this up and read it. I just don't know how the tie-ins are going to actually work. I mean, I read the Union one, and the tie-in was there. It was clear to see. But for me, that wouldn't have been. I don't think I would have had to read the Union one as a tie-in as well. I'm going to read Atlantis #5 to see how the tie-in works with that. But for Union one, it was kind of like you weren't missing anything.
Okay, cool.
I think the bigger tie is obviously going to be Venom. And obviously, like the King in Black, it's going to be interesting what the King in Black Immortal Hulk is, because obviously the Hulk's been missing throughout the whole thing. We've had the Avengers, he hasn't been there, but it does say Knowles arrived during the most wonderful time of the year. Too bad the Hulk isn't prepared for either. So I'm not hoping it's kind of like he shows up while the Hulk's chowing down to his Christmas dinner. And
it's either going to be one or two things. It's either going to be consistent with the story. It's going to bring out a new character, or it's going to be just a kind of a way to milk that cash cow, I guess.
But I mean, it's quite interesting because a lot of these comics in there are quite manly, and then it goes to Black Cat, and then it goes to Spider-Woman #7. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think just for the whole event, I'm going to read all the tie-ins.
Yeah. The symbiote Spider-Man King in Black 2, it says Spider-Man travels the galaxy with a talking raccoon. So I wonder, do we see glimpses of the Thor, maybe something like that? I don't know.
But then it also says Spider-Woman #7, trapped on the far side of the Milky Way, Jessica Drew finds herself caught in Knowles' destructive wake. The Black Cat takes on the King in Black, staging the most daring heist of her career. I think that's just going to be a flash in the pan. Like, I'm not being funny. If the Sentry showed up and was gone quicker than anything, I don't think the Black Cat's going to... What's she going to do? Steal his crown jewels?
You have to think though that that all these comics that have the tie-ins, they've basically said, right, you have to get a symbiote in there somewhere, and you have to slap this logo on it, and you'll sell lots and lots of copies. And
I think there are. I think for the Immortal, obviously there's going to be, like we noticed this week and last week, and also the comics coming out next week on the 9th. There's so many nullified covers. So. In a roundabout way, you've got the symbiote Spider-Man, you've got the nullified covers of like the Fantastic Four and Spider-Woman 7. So they're tying it in, they're making it a massive event. They are making it a massive event.
The same as they've done with all the Venomized covers or the Carnageized covers,
Black Cat #2 is one to look out for. You heard it here first, guys. GP Venom's calling it. He's not asleep yet. He's normally asleep by now. But he's wide awake. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It is going to be interesting to see. And I think I'm just going to end this part of the show. I think I'm just going to play a video again.
Go for it.
I'm just going to play it again. For those of you in the chat who missed it, it's only a minute and a half, so just sit back and
can feel him screaming through the black towards me, towards us, towards the whole of creation. His hands wrapping around the world's throat. This is it. No more running. No more hiding. No, the Lord of the Abyss. God of the symbiotes. He's here. So, it's time to go to work. Your God is awake. And God is coming.
Can we go back and do that again?
Honestly, like that just hypes you up, doesn't it? Like you would just, if that was to come out, if that was just an entrance, the intro to a movie, you'd go and watch it.
Absolutely, 100%.
And I'm not sure when this the next comic comes out. I think it's in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's in 3 weeks, but it's insane. Honestly, this is one of them comics that I've picked up. I've picked up about 5 covers. I bought 2 of the main cover because I'm gonna keep one, and then I'm gonna send one off to CGC. I've got 2 or 3 variant covers,
Cool.
but it's just I kind of get sucked in. I get sucked into the whole event, and I've kind of given everything to this event. I've been hyping it up and like wanting it to happen for so long, and it's finally happened.
And it hasn't let you down. That's the thing. It hasn't let you down.
At the moment, it hasn't, and it's. I really just hope like it just keeps. I mean, I've got faith in Donny Cates and Stegman. They haven't failed to hit these high bars that they keep setting.
A safe pair of hands, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be interesting to see what issue number 2 does. To be fair, because
you say it comes out in 3 weeks' time. Did you say?
I think it's 3 weeks' time. Yeah.
Dude, I don't care who you have planned to come on. I need to come on and do the second,
Mate,
3rd, 4th, and 5th issue.
Honestly, that's fine. I think, do you know what? I think we should actually do this. So I think if you're happy to, we can kind of, every time there is a King in Black issue comes out, we'll get you back on the show, because we've kind of started something now. So we've kind of got this King in Black brotherhood going. So
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Right, that's it. Yeah, right. We got that. So every time there's a King in Black, we'll play that video. And it's just me and Andy talking about the King in Black. Topher Grace will come in for the save. Apparently so. But Andy, I'm going to hand it over to you now, mate, because you've been an absolutely fantastic guest. If you just want to tell the guys in the chat what you've got planned coming up this week. I know you've got some CGC out, so I'm interested to find out, as I'm sure everyone in the chat is. So take the camera, mate.
Hold
on, let me get rid of this. This is the thing, I've got to get used to this. There we go. That's it. You've got to try and fill the void. Fill the void.
Stick them back on. First of all, thanks so much for on. It's been an absolute blast. As you know, I've been messaging you back and forth for the last week, buzzing about coming on the show and chatting all things comics. From my perspective, my channel is Perpetual Comics, so just do a search for that. I'd really appreciate if you come and subscribe. I think I've got maybe 53, 54 subscribers. You'll see things like unboxings. You'll also see lots and lots of toys, action figure unboxings. As Charles said there, Charlie said there, I've just sent some comics off for the first time to CGC, so I guess they'll probably come back in 3 or 4 months, not knowing the timescales at the minute. But on Saturday, you can go over to Comic Deals channel, and we're doing panels and pints. And we're also doing a crossover where we look at another Donny Cates comic, and we'll be doing that for the entire run. So come and check us out. But make sure, more importantly, that you hit the thumbs up button for this, and if you haven't subscribed to the Geeky Guys channel, then make sure that you do.
Mate, thank you so much for that. It's been an absolute pleasure of mine having you on. These shows were only meant to be an hour, but I think we literally spent an hour talking about King in Black. It was definitely worth it, and I do have to go back to what the Grey Man is saying. First issues are easy to get the excitement up, but it's the resolution that obviously knocks the book down. Now, I think that does go back to the fact that if it can consistently keep it up, then I think it will. I've dropped your link in the chat, so guys, if you haven't subscribed to him yet, make sure you do. Give him a thumbs up, follow him over on Instagram and stuff like that. Some decent toys. I'm looking forward to your CGC that comes back, mate. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
you've got some good. What ones have you sent off?
Well, we've got Killing the Children, issue 1, the first print. We've got issue 1, the Jenny Freeson cover. Mm-hmm. We have Strange Academy issue 1, the Scotty Young website variant, and what else? I forgot which ones I sent off. I've got my piece of paper, but yeah, no, we've got a few good covers there to send off, and Whatever grades come back, I'm hoping they come back a 9.8. But again, they're for my personal collection. They're not for selling on, so I don't really mind. But you should definitely jump on. I'll probably do like a live show. So jump on and come and laugh at my grades.
Oh mate, definitely. I will definitely jump on, and it's always a pleasure having like this show is set up for the community. You know what I mean? The comic book community. If anyone wants to come on and talk about comics and stuff like that, I'm more than happy to have you on. If you don't like spoilers, this ain't the show for you. Just read the comic, put it on mute, and then hit me up and let me know what you think.
I just love the fact that I've shoehorned myself into 4 more of your shows. That's just fantastic.
I had some free spaces anyway, so.
I'll get a message after this saying, actually, Andy, it was just me saying that anyway. You put me on the spot.
That's all right, mate. But I am going to say, so for the people in the chat, this is an exclusive. It's exclusive news. So next week on the show, we have the one, the only, the creator and CEO of Boom Studios. We have Ross Ritchie that will be appearing next week. So make sure if you've got your Boom Studio chats and questions and everything like that, at the moment, he is very on Instagram. He's getting back to everything. He's taking his time to get out to everyone. He seems like an absolute decent guy, so I'm sure he will respond to comments and he'll be open to questions and stuff like that. So guys, make sure you tune in. It's looking like it's going to be a decent chat. Studios are killing it at the moment.
Absolutely.
I'm very much excited for that. I kind of set the ball rolling with him, didn't hear nothing back, kind of panicked and was like, how's this going to go? And he got back to me and was like, I'm more than happy for that. You talk to my PA and we'll get stuff going. And I'm over the bloody moon. I'm well excited for that. But yeah, it's going to be great. I kind of love talking to you all guys, love having you all on the show, love engaging you with Instagram and YouTube and stuff. You're an absolutely great community to be part of. And I think with lockdown, it's kind of built up the community within the UK a lot more. 100%.
No, I totally agree with you. As I say, I'm fairly new to the community, and even if there wasn't the YouTube and the videos and the subscription and the likes and all that good stuff that comes with it, it would be all about the chat, the conversation, and the good vibes. So it's all about the positivity and just having a bit of fun.
And it is, and I think after that, I'm going to need a cup of tea to chill out I'm going to go and read King in Black again.
I'm exhausted. I need to lie down.
I'm going to read it again because I enjoyed it so much, and I'm just going to. There's got to be some like Easter eggs in there somewhere, isn't there? I think
you'll find something.
I'm going to make sure I find something. It was Daredevil. I want to find out if that is Elektra as Daredevil's first appearance, because they're saying it was in Daredevil 25, but then if this was printed first, technically that's a first appearance, no?
Oh, that's a whole can of worms. That's a whole different show. There's that whole first appearance debate and cameo debate and all the rest of it.
Ask Grey Man because he's in the chat and he'll answer me. Grey Man, if you're there, so Daredevil 25 came out this week and it's been hyped. It's going for ridiculous money. The flippers on eBay are going absolutely mad for it. It's been said that is Elektra's first appearance as Daredevil. Now, on page 18 of The King in Black, she is there in her Daredevil outfit. Is that a first appearance if this comic was released, or if this comic was printed before Daredevil 25? Answers on a postcard.
Answers on a... yeah. Hashtag first appearance.
I'm going to make this my issue to find out. I'm going to find that out. But unless you've got anything else to add, mate, I think that's kind of it. We've kind of nearly hit 2 hours. I think we've exhausted everything.
No, I think we've. I think that's perfect to end on. And thanks again, mate, for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Mate, it has been an absolute pleasure of mine. Love having you on. You're there for King Black. Well, how many issues is it? King
5, I think.
So, guys, if you want to find out what me and Andy think about King in Black 2, 3, 4, and 5, tune in because he's taken up my places for that. So if you do jump on, I will drop the link when we do these shows. But it's basically me and Andy, guys. So
whether you like it or not, it's just me.
Comics and Perpetual Comics, we are taking over, guys. It's been absolutely great. I've enjoyed having you on. I've enjoyed talking to you all in the chat. And you should know this by now. But if I don't see you for a week, I'll see you through the Geeky Squad window.